Welcome back to the Aftermatch with Kirst Beav. Come for the rugby, stay for the Aftermatch. Beav, Test 1 is done. Dave Rennie starts with a 100% success rate as a head coach of the All Blacks. How did you feel watching that Test match? What sort of rating did you get it for a first Test match of the year and first Test match of this new tenure, new era?
Absolutely loved it, Kirst. Yes, you can say from an All Black point of view, did they win by enough and all the rest of it, but it doesn't concern me considering there was no conservatism about it. They weren't going to say, look, got to give us a couple of weeks to embed stuff, so we're not going to go full noise from here or what have you. But no, I think they have gone to camp. They've said, boys, this is how we're going to play. This is how we're going to win the World Cup in Australia, and we're going to start now. And it hasn't exactly been dip your toe and stuff. I think everything got thrown at them as far as what's expected of them from a optimism point of view and where they are to have a crack from. And they absolutely followed it, I guess, under the roof. Perfect opportunity to do it. And yeah, there was a few teething problems, but by and large, Kirst absolutely loved what saw from the All Blacks in the weekend.
Okay, you just talk about optimism there. How much of the Hurricanes did you see in this performance? Did you see a bit of the Hurricanes' DNA?
I saw a bit of the Hurricanes from an attack point of view as far as once they got into structure and there was the sweeping and they would sweep in multiple numbers. It wasn't just one guy out the back, it was multiple guys out the back. So therefore, if the defence came and tried to hit them, they had a release option. So bit of Hurricanes there, and then I guess a bit of, call it Chiefs, call it Dave Rennie, as far as things like the quick throw-ins, the ball at the back of the ruck, we've got to keep going sort of thing. So there was, I guess, an amalgamation of both what's been so obvious and brilliant this year from the Hurricanes, and it was always going to be a case of obvious a bit of Hurricanes there because, let's be honest, all the key decision makers were Hurricanes boys when you think about the 9, 10, 12. So there was always going to be that aspect, but I think there's still very much been blended into how Renz and his coaching group see it.
You avoided my initial question, maybe because I gave you about 3 questions to ponder. But if you've been following the Aftermatch since our inception for the last year and a bit, you'll know that come All Black season, I would ask Beav for a rating of the All Blacks performance. And very early doors, he went very high out of 10. And he then came unstuck later on in the season. For you, how did you rate that All Blacks performance? Put it in the comments for us, out of 10, 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. And make sure you factor in what's to come this year, Beav. But for you, for that first test, what is your rating out of 10? I'm curious. Are you starting how you did last year?
From a heartwarming point of view, and I'm talking about warming my heart as an All Black fan, it's 10. So the heart's warm. But
so you're starting the same?
No, but I'll give you a performance and I'm allowing them room to move because I think they will get even better. We'll start with a nice 7.
Oh, that's lower. I don't think you dropped below 7.5 last season, the whole year. Maybe it's because you started too high, so then you had to keep going up.
No, I just see where it could end up. And if I go too early, then I'm going to have to start using my fractions along the way too early. So let's just start for 7. But just
we're starting with a 7.
But it's a 10. It's a 10 in the heart, Kirst, because boy, they played like we all dreamed that they can.
Okay, let's talk about our Bushbuck moment of the week then, and a big thank you to the supporters of our podcast, Bushbuck, for all your outdoor kit, Blackmagic tackle for your fishing and tackle needs, and Platinum Homes for your dream home. So, our Bushbuck moment of the week this week, Beav, what is it?
It is Cam Roigard's second try. Obviously, he scored a couple, but this one was a team beauty, really, in the second half, and it was much needed. They were certainly under the pump at this stage, but they still had the ambition to play. They still played quickly, and that for me was, I guess, something that stood out is how quickly that they played. You look at this one, there's guys running lines, there's guys who, it's so in sync. And for first game up, when I noticed how in sync it was, the dummy lines, they were all an option, all a threat, went out the back a couple of times. And then Geordie Barrett, who, along with Cam Roigard, were a couple of the best on field, I thought, gets down that short touchline and gets an offload back into his Hurricanes man, Cam Roigard. But it was the offloading, it was the speed, it was a thing of beauty. This week's Bushbuck moment. Look, there's probably 3 or 4 in the final for this moment, but the Bushbuck one is Cam Roigard's second try for me.
Who were the special mentions?
Oh, look, Peter Larkeyes wasn't bad. There's a few. Look, to be fair, a couple of the French tries weren't bad either. They had a couple of absolute beauties themselves. So, most people who watched the game were just blown away from the quality of the attack and the enjoyment that they watched it and realised that Test rugby can be played like that. And when you think about the same 2 teams played last year, at this time of year for 3 games, I don't think we saw anything like it. So it was just great to watch.
Okay, well, let's talk about this Test match and let's talk about the opposition then, because us, for one, did not give the French enough credit, Beav. We weren't calling this a B or a C team, no. But we did say that they can't play at the same speed as the All Blacks, that their big boys get tired, that they'd be asking for water breaks, their props would be going down. I think you said between 11 and 12 times was your prediction in the first half. I didn't even see any stoppages from any of their big boys until the second half, actually. I don't know what you saw, but the French were unbelievable, and they played a big part in making that a brilliant Test match.
Oh, entered into it, didn't they? And you did right. The speed in which the French played, and I guess to use Ren's out of our outfit at the moment, it's the optimism and ambition. But when you think about how quick they played, and you've got to hand it to the 9 and 10. Yes, Dupont's the big name or the big superstar in French rugby, but Luku, who captained the team, the speed in which he played and the creativity, and we've talked about it before, how so much of the French game, be it at club level or be it the international team, has always been based around their creative nines, and it goes back a long way. And again, we saw it from Luku and his combination with, now you might help me with the pronunciation, seeing you were live, but is Jalaberi?
Something like that, Beav.
Something like that at 10. Geez, he was great to watch. I wondered a couple of times whether he just rolled the dice once too often, quick tap, grubber him behind, goes dead, the All Blacks get it back, 22. There's a couple of times where I guess you've got to take the good with the bad with someone who plays and rolls the dice like he did, but they were the 9 and 10 stood out, obviously. Pinot, who we knew was, I guess, real quality. Kolbe was here last year, so there was just so much firepower, and they delivered, Kirst. It was a wonderful, wonderful game from them, and look, that they weren't far off it. You think about I'm really on fire at the moment with my French name, so I'll go again with Broberi. That's the 13 I'm trying to allude to. His try called back on another day. They don't call that back on the tip back, so they were well and truly in that game, and with all that wonderful French flair, it looks so simple at times when they get it right. It's just basic hands, but it's their ability to go so quickly, and when they get momentum, they just keep coming at you, and you can't do much about it. And they were brilliant at times, Kirst.
You talk about speed. We've talked about speed a lot in the last few minutes from both the All Blacks and the French. Now, there's these stats that are going around at the moment because Dave Rennie talked about it in the post-match press conference on Saturday. 85% LQB, or lightning quick ball, as they say. Talk to us about this. What does that actually mean? What's he talking about with this 3-second ruck speed?
Well, essentially, it's from the time the guy hits the deck to the time the ball's released, and I guess the 3-second figure has come from the research that suggests if you can do it in that point, by that point, then the defence is not being able to cope with it, and the defence is not being able to get set as much as I'd want to. So that's the tipping point, the 3-second factor, and then there's all the things that go into it. You know, the ball carry, the footwork, the drive post contact, which they talk about a lot these days, where once the initial contact's made, it's the ability not to fall on the ground, because what does falling on the ground mean? It means you're going to fall down, they're going to have a crack at slowing the ball down, or often better, getting a penalty. So there's all those things that sort of flow into the LQB that he's been mentioning post-game. And yeah, it was noticeable. And to be fair, I'd say both teams' stats were pretty high on that front. But you can tell that the All Blacks are going down that route or wanting that because they're so aware that once they've got the ball at the base of the ruck, they're gone again. They're not slowing things up. And again, it adds to the speed that they're trying to take teams to.
Did anything surprise you about that All Blacks performance? Anything that you saw or maybe anyone?
I don't think anyone surprised you as such, but I guess the thing about it was the fact that they were able to do it from test one. That was the real thing for me, Kirst. The fact that, yep, we've heard about where they want to get to. We sort of envision where we would love to be watching as fans, but from an on-the-eye sort of fixture, I don't think you could have asked for any more. And more than anything, for me, yep, we all want to watch brave rugby and we all don't want to watch box kick to box kick. But it was the fact that now we're tailoring our game to what we've got. And I was awfully concerned there. And it wasn't just the last regime. It was probably a little bit earlier than that we were obsessed about what was going on in the north or what South Africa's doing. We're not built like them. We don't have Peter Steph the Toits size guys running around. What we do have is we have Peter Larkeyes and Artie Savers. So what's our best way of playing with them? And for me, that was the real cool thing that I think we're getting back to. Yep, playing a rugby that looks good, but also a rugby that suits who we've got and suits the boys that are produced in this country.
Okay, so let's zone in or zero in on a few players in particular then, and some of the players that I guess stood out amongst the comments when we did our team reaction on Thursday. You just mentioned Lakai and Artie. Give us your summary on that loose trio and how they went as a combination.
Well, I mean, it's very much a combination. And first up, you'd have to say great. And to be fair, considering you're playing three guys who have the ability or to probably play seven, well, let's be honest, they have the ability to play all three positions, and they do. But the fact that it was such a high-tempo, wide-open game, then it was tailor-made for that sort of loose forward trio. A lot of plaudits going to Luke Jacobson, which is great, a bit of an unsung hero when you look at it. He'll only get better, I think, in the tighter sort of games. And I know the All Blacks are going to want to try and create that width all the time. But when they play South Africa and the likes, that will be where you really notice the Luke Jacobson effect, I reckon, as a 7.
What about our 10? Ruben Love got his first ever test start wearing the number 10 jersey, which is a significant moment. Because when you think about 10s, I mean, they don't get changed often. So he got first crack. What did you think of his first test start at 10?
Oh, when you think about the first 2 minutes for him, and then to come back on there, like he was victim of the new world of rugby as far as shoulder on head had to go. And then to be able to bounce back from that and still have such an assured game, but also the fact, Kirst, that there was, like, when you get into a second half and you're either up by a couple or behind by a couple and there's 20 minutes to go, it's on you. And he came out the other side of it. So for a first up start, it wasn't an easier into it. It was full noise. You've just conceded 7. Then you get yourself a yellow card. I thought it was a great performance to be able to bounce back from that and then come back and have his influence. He had his runs. He's clearly got the ability to dust things off. He's a really confident footballer. And as soon as he was back, he was having a crack, and his footwork and his threat to the line and all the rest of it. I thought it was for a first start, Kirst, you couldn't have asked for much more.
Damien McKenzie at fullback. Did you see the reasons why for the last 4 months you've said he will be Dave Rennie's fullback?
Yeah. I mean, it looked like him at fullback, doesn't it? But a lot of people, and mentioned it on another show we do, Kirst, for me, all of a sudden you look at that back three and go, that's an All Black back three. You know, I guess in my head you look at an All Black back three and you see the wow factor. And I guess if you've got Caleb Clark, Damien McKenzie and Will Jordan all standing there, for me that's got that. That's got the holy heck, where do we kick? That's got the once these guys get the ball with plenty of room, it's game over. So that's the sort of thing that we just expect, or you grow up with those images of a All Black back three, and that's what that sort of lineup for me has. And I thought Mackenzie was very good. I thought he did a real good job of taking over when Ruben got Simbin for 10 minutes. It would have been easily a chance for the All Blacks to have. We wouldn't have sort of judged them poorly if they'd gone down 14-0 at that point. But all of a sudden he comes in, and I think we might have even got two tries, or definitely one try. And it was just how easily he slotted in, and the machine just kept rolling, and that was great.
What about our 3 debutants? 3, there was supposed to be 2, and then there was a last-minute change. So I guess we talk about him first. Jamie Hanna, coming into that for Patrick Tupolotu, who really you'd say was the only experienced test lock. How do you think our locks, our 2 starting locks plus Jamie Hanna, played in that match?
Yeah, well, must have been. I'd love to know when Jamie Hanna knew that he was getting the crack, because it all seemed to happen very late in the piece.
The day before, Friday.
Yeah. So congratulations to him, and a reward for a wonderful, wonderful super campaign. But I think Lord and Darry were great. And considering, as you say, when you looked at the piece of paper you get when they have their caps behind it, it's not hugely experienced, and a couple early doors lineouts didn't go to plan, and so they bounced back from that. But I guess the thing when you sort of get the chance to have brief interactions with these boys is Darry and Lord, both of them doesn't look like much phases them. They've both had outstanding Super Rugby competitions, haven't they? Darry in a struggling Blues team, and Lord's just been phenomenal for the Chiefs and what he's been able to do. So, no, it was great to see it, and it's just another opportunity for him to bank. And then you think about all the other blocks in the stable. It's a great crew.
Okay, on the debutants, I don't know if you've seen this doing the rounds on social media, but my fave, Fehi, was so nervous that he was vomiting. Half-time, sideline. He was so nervous to go on and play. I guess it shows you how much it means.
Oh, 100% it does. And that's an interesting point you just made. When you look at what we've seen them during the week, we've been out interviewing them during the week, some of these boys, and then you also saw them pre-game. For these people that love to create a storyline about, it doesn't mean as much as it used to, and no, they'll go overseas if they get a chance. Just look at those people who were playing for the first time. Look at the guys who've played 100 games and tell me that it means nothing. Like, it's just, I don't know if you saw Xavier during the anthem. He looked like he was welling up, and obviously the Fehi stuff. I haven't seen it. I'm probably not going to seek it out, but as someone that just used to choke on his mouth guard and throw up pre-game, I can appreciate the issues that Fehi was having.
What about Xavier Numere when he entered the field, and he was pumped? Did you see him just slapping the face? He was just getting himself in the zone and ready. I loved that.
I did notice that. I'd have given myself concussion if I'd done that. But no, again, just like great reward and great toil. Like his isn't an overnight thing.
He's 26.
And about 3 years ago, we all thought it was going to happen. And he's hung in there, and he's going to be some weapon. If his role is a bench role, he's going to be some weapon to bring on with 20 odd to go.
Look, we've been back in the comments this week. We do see everything that you comment, remember? So post away, whether it's questions, whether it's comments. But there's been a number of people suggesting this, and this is coming from Adam. Will we see a McCaw Meads MVP award for the All Black season? Well, look. We did it through Super Rugby, didn't we? We had the Jonah Lomu medal, and then we had the Richie Mo medal for the player of the final. Do we need to have an All Black medal for player of the season? And what would you call it? Would you call it the McCaw Meads MVP? Let us know what you think this award should be called. Beav, give us your 3, 2, 1s. I reckon we do. We've got our Blackmagic All Black of the week. So whoever gets 3 points can be our Blackmagic All Black of the week, and this can culminate in an end of season MVP award.
Yes, well, let me give you who stood out for me in the points that we're going to give out for that. So, Ethan de Groot, 1 point for Ethan. Around the park, phenomenal. Scrum time, great. one of the highlights for me that went unnoticed because play moved on quickly, but he got a ball out off 10. He knew the ball needed to go out the back, and he catches it in, I think, one hand. I'm going to say one hand, just to hype it up even more. Flicks it out the back, and the game carries on. Unbelievable form that Ethan de Groot's in. Without a doubt, his best year. He is just built on his Highlanders form. He gets
what
1
about
point.
him? He nearly scored a try, Beef. Nearly scored a try if it wasn't for one of the Frenchman's knee that cut his face to shreds.
I know, in his face he got a bit of mangled, but phenomenal form, Big Ethan. Cam Roigard, he was everywhere. He got 2 tries. He ran the show superbly. Just highlighted the fact that doesn't matter if DuPont wasn't there, the best halfback in the world was on show, Kirst. So he gets 2 points for me. And 3 points this week, our Blackmagic All Black of the week for first game under Dave Rennie. Has to go for me. Continuation of his Hurricanes form, but Geordie Barrett, both on defence, he was massive, but the work he does around the park, on the attack, whether it's putting people in space, whether it's carrying himself and offloading. We saw the Will Jordan try early. That's, again, something we saw him do a lot for the Hurricanes. It's just his vision and his skill. So Geordie Barrett, for me, is this week's Blackmagic All Black of the Week.
Who was it for you? Who was your All Black of the week, and who would you give your 3, 2, 1 points to after test 1? Let us know. To go back into the comments, Beef. Okay, I love this one. This one's from Kerry, and this was after our team reaction on Thursday. I know what Barnsey was on about when he said we won't be playing second fiddle in the forwards to any team. You can just hear Barnsey saying that, can't you? The positive, no-nonsense attitude that we all want to hear. Give that man a beer. He's won me over already, and he's not even a player. On Barnsey, like, he is the new national treasure. Move over, Beaver. Barnsey is our new national treasure. I want to share a few stories about him. So many people say that he's such a tough nut to crack. Like, if you're a player, he will wrap his arms around you, but he also wants you to earn his respect. Whenever he sees me, Beef, he puts his arm out like he's a big grizzly bear and he says, "Come here, girl." And he gives me the biggest hug in the world. We know that he's a pensioner, as you've mentioned on the show before. He is a dairy farmer, so the money for the All Blacks is not the be-all and end-all. He actually just absolutely loves the game. I've known him for quite a number of years now, and whenever we would go away, or the Chiefs would be in an away game, let's say Dunedin, for example, Barnsey would always... he would be the keeper of time. He would be the father of the boys while on tour. He would always make sure that the boys were all getting home safely. And so he would sit at a bar. He would find the hotel bar that they were staying at. He would sit at the window with a glass in hand, and whatever the curfew would be, let's say the boys had been given a curfew of 1 a.m. Beef. He would sit at the window until 1 a.m. and he would make sure every single one of his players had made it home safely. Some would push the curfew and would go 1:05. Some were early, some were at 12:30, and then others that were the favourites of Barnsey, on their way in, they'd see Barnsey in the window and they'd come into the bar and share a beverage with him. That's the type of respect that he has with his players. But I talk about his love of rugby, Beef. When Taranaki won the Ranfurly Shield under his guys, I think it must have been the first time that they won it back when Barnsey was head coach. I got to go down to Taranaki for the parade on the Monday, which was pretty special. And he took me to New Plymouth Old Boys, which is his club. And this club is like a shrine to Neil Barnes. Neil Barnes has been a part of this club since he was a young player as a teenager, and there are pictures of him from every single grade as one of those hard-nosed locks when he was a player, and then like from the early days when he was coaching, he's coached every single grade. He's won 7 premier titles with New Plymouth Old Boys. That is his club. He still has such a big influence on that club in the Naki, even when he was coaching Super Rugby and even when he was coaching for Taranaki as well. He never forgets his roots. But that man, he's a national treasure, Beef, and we've got to celebrate him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wonder about that curfew you were talking about, whether it was for the players or whether it was for Neil himself. But no, absolutely wonderful man, and the boys will love him, I'm sure, if they don't already, and he will add to that pack, that's for sure.
So this no-nonsense attitude that was mentioned by Kerry in that comment, the fact that we will not play second fiddle to any team, the brutality that has been spoken about by Neil Barnes, the positivity and work ethic that's been spoken about by our head coach, Dave Rennie. What did you see from this team on the weekend? If we're going to look at our Platinum Homes blueprint, what is it that you saw on the weekend that we will do against Italy in 6 days' time?
Well, I reckon against Italy, it's going to be a case of there's going to be a little bit of the unknown. It's not a team we play often, and there's going to be a bit of the unpredictability because they're going to have to roll the dice at times. But from a Platinum Homes blueprint, I reckon the All Blacks would, and you saw parts of it, they'd have a bit of a see-do sort of mentality. So that's just a case of let's just react to what's presented. The first perfect example of this from the French game is Will Jordan's first try. In fact, the All Blacks' first try. Adi Savia saw that France weren't ready, so he quickly taps and goes. They don't quite score, then rolls into Will Jordan being free on the edges, which I'm sure you're going to see against the Italians because they're going to have to rush the All Blacks to try and shut down space. Jordy Barrett gets the ball, throws a 20-metre cutout pass, try in the corner to Will Jordan. For me, that's a case of just seeing and doing, reacting to what's being presented for you, and that's going to happen. The Italians going to have to roll the dice this week, Kirst, around setups, around their structures defensively, because they're not just going to be able to sit back and contain the slot. They're not going to be able to. And there's another example of it. All Blacks score this incredible try from deep. The first thing they see is that there's space to have a go, even though it is started from their own 22. So they do have a crack, and they make it a little dent in 30 metres. And then it's the speed in which they keep playing. And you talk about the seeing and doing, Kirst. The ball's at the base of these rucks really quickly. They talked about the LQB that was presented. And then they just keep going quickly. The amount of halfbacks you see in this phase alone that don't have the number 9 on them, it highlights the fact that they're just seeing, and right, we're reacting straight away. And I just think this week against the Italians, they're going to see pitches, they're going to do it, and then they're just going to react to whatever's thrown at them, because I think that's what Italy's going to bring. And Italy has to bring it, Kirst, because they're going to have to do something out of the box to try and take the All Black machine out of its comfort zone.
So seeing and doing. So this means it's unplanned and off the cuff because you're just reacting to the pictures in front of you. So what are they doing at training during the week then?
Oh no, well you've got sort of an idea of what's coming, and then if there's a setup that you see that we have seen that, then we're going to go and take advantage of it. Much like the start of Peter Lakai's try. They saw that they were back, and they'd have seen that during the week. They go, we might get presented with this situation, or we might get presented with that situation. If the winger's up, for example, we might kick him behind them. But he's back, so let's run. And that's being prepared, but that's also everyone being on the same page and then just doing.
So when Dave Rennie says he told the boys to just go out there and play, he doesn't actually mean that.
Oh, play what's in front of you. Yeah, I mean, don't worry. They haven't just been sitting in their hotel for 7 days and not training and not looking into the computers.
So there is a plan behind the madness. It's not just go out there and play.
No, of course not. There would have been preparations for scenarios. But what he's saying is, come Friday, come Saturday, right? All that stuff's ingrained in your head. Now you just got to go out and play.
So is that an easy thing to do when a coach says to you, just go out and play? Or is it easier to be in structure?
No, if you've banked, of course it's easy in structure, but what's the rewards of structure sometimes? Running into brick walls. If you've done your work, they talk about doing your work at the first part of the week. If you can do all your work at the first part of the week, and by work, that means the field stuff, but also all the computer stuff, and seeing what pitches could represent, then by the time the back end of the week comes, you don't look at another computer, you know it's in your head, and then you see it on Saturday night, and you're going to go and react to it.
So I reckon part of the platinum blueprint has to be keys. The key changes, Beav. Key changes for Italy to roll out this new blueprint that we're going to see. What are you thinking? if you're Dave Rennie, what are you doing ahead of this test match?
Well, I think there's a couple of non-negotiables that I think that they've just got to keep, and that's the Ruben Love aspect. I think he just gets to roll out again because as a 10, you want the rhythm and you want the, I guess, not certainty because he knows that there's going to be pressure, but being able to bank on bank. And then I think it's a case if you've got to roll the dice, not roll the dice because it's hardly a gamble, but you bring in guys who haven't played, the guys who are in the squad. So like a Josh Morby for me, he gets a crack. Fahey gets a start. Leroy gets a start. I think guys like Segner have to get a start because when you look at the itinerary, after this game, it's Ireland at Eden Park, and I'd say that gets a little bit personal for the All Blacks these days, and that's a full Eden Park, and let's not forget the record at Eden Park and all the rest of it. So that's a big one. And then you go to South Africa. So you've got to get these guys in at some point before then.
So you definitely don't want to keep the same team together to roll into Ireland 3 weeks in a row, cohesive, connected.
Of course you would, but that's not the world that they live in. Like, you've got to look at the schedule and think, where can we get these guys in? Yes, of course you'd like to say, go again, 3 weeks straight, but I just think you've got to get these guys out there who they've named. These guys have been named as All Blacks. These guys are guys that they back and trust, so I think they get out there.
So, Ruben Love's a non-negotiable. Anyone else from that starting team that's an absolute non-negotiable that's starting anyway? Adi Xavier?
Oh, sorry, the captain. Yes, Adi. Yeah, Adi for me would be back out there. And to be fair, I think Roigard goes back out there to help Ruben nestle himself in there.
Geordie Barrett too?
Yeah, I do have Geordie out there.
Do you keep that combination?
I keep them out there too. Yeah.
And who's beside Geordie then?
Either Leonard Brown or Proctor. Quinn Tapai's had a massive workload. You know what you're going to get from Quinn. He's outstanding, and his body probably could all say thank you for a week off against the Italians. He doesn't need to prove anything.
Segner at 7?
Segner at 7 for me, yep.
Who's at 6?
Again, either Wallace or Parker. And then whichever one of them is not, they get the bench spot.
Locks, I guess, hard to pick right now because we don't know if Patrick Tuipulotu or Tupou Vaa'i are going to be available.
Yeah, it could be quite menacing if all of a sudden Paddy and Vi show up against the Italians. Essentially a couple of guys who you'd almost say a first choice. Well, certainly Vi would be, and Paddy's probably first choice on the bench. So that would be pretty intimidating. But if they're available, they'll go out there.
Hocker, do you rest Cody or do you put one of the other two on the bench?
I think you'd risk Cody. Again, he's had a massive load. The Crusaders weren't able to give him 40 minutes, 50 minutes too often once Bell got hurt. So he will have to go. He is a spell, I reckon. Takiao and Armour. Obviously, there's the Wellington factor with Armour, but both of those two have come along so much in the last 12 months that they deserve their time as well.
And your props, Beav, surely Groot is a non-negotiable.
He's a rester. No, he's a rester for me this week. Are
you resting him? He's too important.
Too important. Nothing to prove there from the big man. No, obviously Lomax needs some time. Numia gets another crack. Tossie, of course, as well. So with Tossie and Lomax there on the side, and then you got Numia and Bauer to get a run.
There you go. That is your team. Okay, well, let's talk about the other teams then in the Nations Championship. Who did you see enough from? Who were you surprised or shocked by? What side do you want to go take on first?
Well, I think who I've seen enough from, we've always seen enough of the South Africans, haven't they? They were outstanding again at Ellis Park. The scoreline says it was close. I think it's a little flattering. At times they got out to sort of 20-point leads and then it came back. Sort of much like everyone else, they're playing. And with that back line, why not? You know, they went back to the old firm in the midfield, and nothing seemed to change there. I think Creel got a couple. The highlight, of course, tough to go past Cheslin and his footwork to score one of the early tries. Well, I don't think I've seen someone chase a shadow just like that poor Englishman did. I'm trying to remember who it was, and we're not trying to shame him in it at all because
But it happens to someone every game. It happened to Leroy Carter in Wellington last year, remember, Beav? Cheslin literally does that to at least one person every test match.
It was the quickest bit of feet of... I know he's probably done it quicker, but geez, it looked quick. It looks so quick.
You're just no chance, are you? Like, I think we've talked about it before, but one-on-one, you're actually no chance against him, are you?
And that's the quality of a man. A great winger doesn't... If he gets one-on-one with you, you're done. You know, it's all over. Williamson at back, I thought was good too. And they just keep trucking along. Like, I mean, they had a few late withdrawals too in that pack. It wasn't, there's no Eben and the likes, but they still just... They just get it done. For all the expansion that they played with, they still get a couple of opportunities down close to the line. They go bang back to the old firm as far as the Maul and Marks and the likes.
Yeah, so how does Scotland go against South Africa this weekend?
Well, it's funny. So Scotland, you would say, are going to struggle. However, Scotland will play. And if you think is Russell back? I know he was injured there towards the back end of the club season, but when you think about Scotland against France in the Six Nations, played. And then with their mentality, you would imagine they're going to try to run them off the park. And good luck doing it, but that's how they're going to go about trying to have a crack at them. But Scotland will be happy. They beat Argentina, which, to be honest with you, I didn't think they would have, but they're in some decent form, so they've got a big couple of weeks.
Australia, Beav. Australia have France next.
That'll be a great game.
That'll be a cracking game, won't it?
Yeah, because Australia, geez, I don't know how they lost this one. I thought they were, for 35 minutes, they were impressive. You talk about the Hurricanes and the All Blacks influence. I saw a bit of Hurricanes about how the Wallabies were playing too. They were very in sync with their plays out the back and what have you. They looked menacing. They really did. I thought Ikitau's come back from the UK looking as sharp as ever. Suali had his moments. Jock Campbell was a bit of a surprise. I guess start at 15 for some. He looked good. Carter Gordon looked good. But they just blew a couple of clear and obvious tries in the first half, and I just wondered how important that try right on half-time from Ireland, from Jamison Gibson Park, to get them back to 24-19 as opposed to 24-12. Even that would have been light, I thought, for the Wallabies' dominance in that first half. So they look good, but unfortunately for the Wallabies, they lose another tight one. And that's going to be the biggest hurdle that they need to get over before now in the World Cup to make a serious crack at it. They need to be able to get through these tight games.
And the Italians losing to Japan, that can't be good.
It can't be good when they're about to jump on a flight, or they might already be in the land of the long white cloud.
To take on the Super Rugby champions.
Yeah. Plus a little bit more sprinkled on top. That's disappointing for them. But it's concerning because, as you say, I think they're walking into trouble, to be fair.
Okay, well, that is round one of the Nations Championship. Round two is coming up this weekend, and that is the aftermatch with Kirst Beav. Beaver's Bunker is going to come up later this week, which is going to be absolutely brilliant. Do you want to give us a wee teaser?
Yeah, we're going to actually have a look at the All Blacks in further detail around what they did in the weekend, which I think highlights the biggest shifts in their game since they probably last played. So, yeah, I think there's some clear and obvious stuff, and it's not the highlight stuff, it's not the tries, it's just some little bits and pieces that we've spotted.
There you go, Beaver's Bunker coming up on Wednesday. We've got a full calendar for you this week. On Thursday, we will do the All Blacks team naming reaction, as we always do. And as always, we want your comments, so chuck them below, and we will do our best to answer as many as we possibly can. Beaver's always in the comments, always watching. Thanks for coming. This is the Aftermatch with Kirst Beav. We'll see you soon.